What's up, everyone? Mitchell Saltzman here alongside Brendan Graber.
How you doing?
And today we're going to be going through a full playthrough of Hades 2 of the Underworld section. There are two sections, the Underworld and Surface. This is going to go all the way from the beginning of the Underworld to the very, very end, so I guess
geez.
spoiler alert.
Spoiler for me. I'm only halfway through this game, but I'm ready to see what your winning build was for this. I'm really
Yeah,
curious.
and that's kind of like the idea of this. We're going to talk about what kind of choices I'm making in my boon selection. Right now, you see I went with Demeter. I think Demeter is one of the better gods that you can go with in the game, mainly because she gets freeze. And freeze is such a powerful tool when it comes to making enemies stop in their tracks. It's especially good at dealing with armored enemies, because otherwise there's no way to get them to stop coming at you until you break their armor.
Yeah, I feel like in particular the early game, the Sirens that chase you around are really annoying to deal with unless you can slow them down.
And here we got our first hammer. The Daedalus hammers are what I would say your first priority in terms of when it comes to making a choice. If you have a Daedalus hammer or literally anything else, you're almost always going to want to go with the hammer. For this one, I believe I chose the one where it extends the range of my basic attack and deals more damage at the furthest range, which is not my favorite hammer for the staff. But, you know, sometimes you got to go with what you got.
It's a good keep away move.
Yeah. And then right
I'm
here...
also interested, why did you go with the staff?
I actually really like the staff. I think it's a really powerful starter weapon. But yeah, really quick, this is a boon of chaos. So basically, you can come down here. It costs some health, but you get a fairly powerful boon for the long run of the game if you can make it through like a couple of encounters with some sort of big handicap. The handicap that I just got makes me very, very slow. But fortunately, I have ice attacks, so it doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah, that's a good trade-off.
Yeah. And because I went with Demeter as my first choice, I'm just going to kind of keep on going down the path of picking more Demeter boons for a little while at least. I don't remember what I picked next, but you know, we'll see what happens. And yeah, so this is a mini boss. And it's actually pretty easy. I would recommend always going outside of the darkness at first and killing those two enemies so you don't have to deal with them anymore. And then when it comes to this guy, just attack him a couple times from the front, zip to his back, and then just keep going back and forth between his two attacks. Pretty easy.
Making sure you're not surprised from the sides is a good bet.
Yeah, definitely. And then, ooh, I bet I choose Frigid Sprint here. Do I? Do I? Come on. I don't remember. Do I pick? Yeah, there it is. All right. So Frigid Sprint is really good.
Great crowd control.
Yeah, Frigid Sprint is really, really good because A, it doesn't cost any magic, so you get this freezing cyclone around you, and all you have to do is just sprint and stop to have it plop down wherever you're at. And then here we have Arachne, who's going to give us some armor and some sort of ability or some sort of buff along with it. Usually the stronger the buff, the less armor you get with it. But I just went for full armor.
Which ones did you choose here?
I chose 60 armor and 1 Fate Fabric. So you get a resource for outside the run, and you just get 60 armor right away.
I see. I'm interested because I usually always go for the ones that give me mana regen, but I see you haven't done any of those yet.
Yeah, I haven't gotten mana regen yet. I will eventually. It's very important. Rare Crop is actually a pretty good get right now. So this is going to make three random boons become common, and then after 3 encounters, it's going to rarefy each of them. I think that's what I get here, but maybe not.
It's a great tandem with the Chaos one you got.
I did not.
Nope,
I
you
got
the
Arctic Ring instead. So yeah, so that basically just gives me a powerful cast. But the Rare Crop would have been a good pickup too. It just was a bit of a waste, I think, because I only had 2 boons for it, and it would have offered.
It's definitely
3.
better when you have more boons to take advantage of.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, you know what? Getting a heroic rarity Omega cast is not a bad pickup either.
My chaos boon just changed.
And then we're gonna level it up here.
Excellent.
All right. Well, I have a
feel
pretty
when
good
you
solid.
see a heroic in the wild, you kind of want to go for it immediately.
Yeah, and I should
Unless
also
it's
say
like you really have something better.
I should also say that this is a fairly deep playthrough, so I have a lot of Arcana cards. I have my Demeter keepsake, which I have right now, is max level, which is why I was able to upgrade a epic level rarity to a heroic level. So I think what's important for people who are new to Hades 2 is to not stress too much about getting really far really early. This game, you're meant to die. You literally don't get the story if you don't die. So don't like rush.
It's a lot like the first game. You're right.
Yeah.
They're gone.
So like don't rush trying
And
to
not only do you
get through it.
That's everything.
Sorry, not only do you get more story as you die, you also start to unlock more features.
Right.
And I think that's kind of the key to progression is you die, you unlock new people who give you new items, and then that's how you get further in the game.
Yeah, so this staff that I'm using also is a fully upgraded staff of, I believe, Millenoi, which increases the cast rate of my Omega attacks, which is why I'm doing those so quickly. One of the reasons why I like picking up Frigid Sprint also, especially if you have a attack that inflicts some sort of curse, is that you get that 2 curse bonus, which deals an extra 25% damage whenever you hit an enemy with 2 curses on them. And that's a really, really powerful Arcana card that I highly recommend.
That is the sort of help Chronos.
And now we got Hera.
Oh, you got Hera. Nice.
Yeah, I think Hera is a later god that shows up. I don't know if she shows up at the beginning.
I haven't found Hera yet.
Yeah, but she inflicts this thing called Hitch, which is another curse, and basically what it does is any enemy that gets tagged with Hitch, they basically share damage. So if you have like 10 enemies that all have Hitch, you hit one of them and all 9 other enemies take 30% of that damage.
It's
nice. Very, very powerful.
Boss fight.
Yeah, so Mr. Hecate, pretty decently easy fight. Kind of like the mini boss. What I would suggest is attack a couple of times, wait for her to wind up for an attack, dodge through her, and then dodge back through her again, because she usually does two of those energy wave attacks, one right after the other. So you'll see it, and then when she spins around like that, just dodge through, wait for it to come back, dodge back. And then she'll split like this. 2 of these are fake. They'll flash green when you hit them. The other one will just take regular damage. Oh, I got sloppy.
I found that when the clones come out, it's a good time to recharge your mana if you have that ability.
Yep.
And then wait for her to come back to one.
I'm just dodging. Oh man, I got hit by the curse. Usually you just want to dodge back and forth to avoid getting hit by that. Fun fact, you can still break the trees while you're a sheep.
I did not know that. That's really useful.
Then yeah, you're gonna have to clear up all these guys before she becomes vulnerable. I usually like to put a cast down after she, is kind of locked in place a little bit, like right there. Dodge forward. Wait for the next attack. I am wasting mana on a clone right now.
Really come to play.
Yeah, Demeter, again, I think Demeter is especially really strong in the early game. So she kind of lets you get momentum to do really good later on. There are definitely... First boss down. There are definitely gods that will do more damage than her. But, yeah, I like starting off a run with Demeter for sure.
Coinage. He's there.
And we just made it into the second area. Got a little talk with Chronos.
I've only one, and hope has nothing to do with it. I may not be able to stop you yet.
I really like that they have this little clip of Chronos kind of meeting you as you're on your journey, just because it sets up that final battle just a little bit better.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Hades 1. Sometimes Hades would taunt you along the way, and it kind of,
Yeah.
helped towards that final encounter.
Yeah. So I already used my Demeter keepsake. So switching it over now to Arachnes, which is really useful in terms of if you already have armor, Arachne will give you 20 more and then make it so that as long as you still have armor, you get more armor every time you clear an encounter.
That is really useful.
It's very, very strong, especially if, you're just trying to build up your HP to try to make it to the later levels.
I think having extra survivability early on helps you last to the end game where it really matters.
Yeah.
If you make too many mistakes early on, by the time you get to the later stages, you're already hurting for health. You're like, oh shoot, one mistake can end me. But the less you have to worry about that early, the less it becomes a factor later in the game when it really matters.
Yeah, it's especially good if you also manage to find Arachne in your run, because she is able to give you a whole bunch of armor as well. So yeah, just a big pickup. And then, honestly, if you get Hephaestus, you have another opportunity to get even more armor, which I have right here. Heavy metal. Will I go for it? Will I go for it? Yes, I will. So heavy metal will give you, even just at the base rarity, it will give you 50 armor immediately, which is pretty good. And then the added bonus is that it also makes you resistant to suction attacks, which are very, very annoying, especially in the third and final boss fight, honestly. It's the third biome final boss fight. And then we got Selene here, who will give us our Hex. And this is a new feature in Hades 2. Basically, it's kind of replacing the Call, the super attack from Hades 1. But you only get access to it if you spend a certain amount of mana in an encounter.
And luckily, you already have a lot of mana in your backup that you accumulated throughout the game.
I do need some mana restoration. Let's see if I go for Tranquil Gain here. Will I go for Tranquil Gain? Or, extra cast damage. I do have a heroic... Oh, guess not. That's alright, so I went for mana regeneration.
Both early and late game at having Tranquil Gain is really useful to if you find yourself like, oh shoot, I'm out of mana. Like, especially like when I was playing like early and I ran out of mana early in a boss fight, I'm just like, oh geez, I'm screwed.
Yeah,
Being able to back off and get your mana back is a nice touch.
Every god has their own way of regaining mana, and you see, if you look at the left side of the screen, you have your 5 core boons. The last one is mana regeneration. So you just want to make sure you have at least one. You have one god's mana regeneration boon in that slot by the time you're around this point in the game. So this is a duo boon room, which basically you get both boons, but you have to spurn one of the gods in order to get them. So I spurned Demeter. Yeah, which means that I have to deal with her increasingly growing little ice bubble or ice, circles on the ground, which is... It can be hard to deal with. It deals a lot of damage per second. And, you don't want to be caught in them. But that wasn't that bad. I've had some really rough encounters with these kinds of rooms. Like, literally run-killing encounters.
It's a big risk-reward, that's for sure.
Yeah. I didn't even see what I picked up there. I know I got an infusion boon, but I don't remember I didn't see what it did. But infusion boons are really, really good. Typically, if you have the elemental focus for them, like if you've gotten enough of a certain element of a boon to trigger the ability of them, you should definitely go for them.
Right. And
we got another mini boss encounter here. You can see right there again that little yellow flash symbol on the right that tells you that they have 2 different curses and they're taking 25 extra % of damage.
This is one heck of a bullet hell mini boss.
Yeah. Have you gotten the Soot Sprint boon yet?
No, I had not seen that one yet.
So Soot Sprint is from Hestia, and it's a sprint ability that allows you to absorb projectiles, and it basically makes this boss completely trivial, or this mini boss.
My silver's coming.
That's good to know.
So there I think I got a boon that gives me extra HP based on my max MP. Just, additional life, always good to have.
Yeah, especially with how much money you have right now.
Yeah. And it's still pretty early, so, I'll probably get much more by the time this run is over.
Yeah.
And then we have another
Clearing the map.
Karen, or I forgot what those shops are called. But those are good. I wouldn't
Mini
spend
Karen.
too much money on them, but still good. They got some good stuff, especially if you can get the option where it raises the rarity of your next boon. Those are my favorite ones to get there. Dude, I love Oceanus. Oceanus is probably my favorite of the new levels in Hades 2. Just in terms of
It's a very, I mean, for how dangerous it can get, it's also very chill.
Yeah. And I like the types of encounters that you get here. Like, the enemies are cool. I like the little piranhas that rise up from the pools and just try to overwhelm you.
Oh yeah.
I feel like having Melinui's cast makes those actually doable. I don't know if I would want to see those kinds of encounters in Hades 1. We're gonna go with Trusty Shield here. Trusty Shield's a really good... Yeah, Trusty Shield's a really good boon because it basically primes. So you get rid of 30 magic, but every encounter you get a kind of like a safety net of 10 armor, and that regenerates every time you get into an encounter.
Alright, so you find the Sirens. What's
Yeah.
the play here?
So generally what you want to do, I like to focus on the drummer and the singer primarily because they are usually grouped up together and you can do two damage to 2 enemies at once. Always drop your cast by the drummer, your Omega cast. And then yeah, try to hit more than one of them whenever you can. Once you get rid of one of them, you can focus on another one. Also, I feel like the guitarist kind of mostly chills out until she does her little dash, which you can see coming. What makes this fight a little tough is once you get into the second phase, one of them is going to be the featured artist, and they become much more scary. So here we have the singer. She's going to fire spike balls in between her lasers, which is very annoying to deal with.
Do you usually recommend going after the featured artist immediately?
Going for the what?
The featured artist once it reveals who they are?
Yeah, I typically, I would say that's probably a good idea because, yeah, they have much stronger moves that are hard to deal with. There, I'm getting my mana
hard
back.
to avoid.
Also, that said, dealing with the drummer is much easier because they don't move.
Yeah, I feel like you can still just put your cast down by the drummer and then go back to the featured artist.
Exactly.
Or if you're lucky, the drummer is featured artist and you just roll him down that much faster.
That said, having drummer as featured artist is really annoying. Alright, got 2 of them. Yeah, the guitarist is pretty easy if she's not the featured artist. You just gotta be careful not to get careless. And then once you're in this final phase, just drop a cast down and focus entirely on Scylla, or Scylla. Because otherwise you're gonna get eaten by those piranhas we were talking about. And that's 2 down.
Nicely done.
Keep practicing.
Get a little moon pearl or whatever pearl. And we'll heal up. Let's see,
You're
do
in a
we
pretty good
want
place.
yeah, I don't remember what our armor was, but if the armor is still pretty good, you can keep the Arachne keepsake going. If not, you
Yeah, I
would
think
probably
it was
want to
still
change
in,
it
like,
here.
low 100s.
Yeah. I would say you keep it then.
Your
And
30 armor and 100 health.
I apologize to Brendan now because we're getting into stuff that he has not seen. But yeah, this is the third biome, the Fields of Mourning. It is kind of an open environment. And it's a little bit
Feels a lot
unique.
more like Hades 1.
Hopelessness.
Yeah, it's a little more unique in the way of you have to do multiple encounters per area, which means that mana regeneration is even more important here because you have a much longer time that you're in a single screen.
So you definitely want to have at least one type of mana regeneration from
Yeah.
one of the gods by this point.
Yeah, that's kind of
Otherwise
what
you'll be in trouble.
I was talking about in the last one. You want to make sure by that point you have it so that you're not wanting
Yeah.
for it in this area. But you can see again how powerful Freeze is.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, I would say if I was to do this run again, I probably wouldn't have picked the freezing cast. I think I probably could have picked something from another god to make that a little stronger. Because I already have a way to freeze. I already have my basic attack. And if you have 2 attacks that do the same kind of curse, you don't really get much of a benefit from it.
But I still think the freeze dash is one of the better ones, the better types of
Yeah.
dashes you can get.
And it's important to note that that one doesn't inflict freeze. That inflicts a different curse. That kind of chills enemies, I guess. It makes them slower, but doesn't fully stop them in their place. It also slows down projectiles, which is really good.
Sorrow spiller.
Got a lot of Demeter boons in this run. Usually you don't get that many. And I'm just attacking things from outside the darkness because I'm scared.
In the name of Hades.
Alright, what do we got now?
More Demeter.
Plentiful Forage is a good boon to get if you get it early. I think it's probably just one of those, this is the best I can get right now, so I just picked it. But that makes it so that every time you pick up a flower or herb or anything that is like a resource for outside the run, you get max HP for it, which is really, really helpful, especially early in the run. This guy sucks. I hate this guy. Every time he hits you, he will steal life, so you do not want to get hit by his melee attack. He also has that suction
Another
attack.
good use of throwing.
Yeah, and he has that suction attack, which is... It's a good thing that I have heavy metal, which granted me all that armor earlier on, because I have resistance to it. But yeah, you want to make sure you avoid both this guy's attacks. He goes one, and then he goes another one. So you don't want to attack him after that first attack. You want to be ready to dodge again.
Look at these flawless moves. Never stood a chance.
Dead. And another Demeter boon.
Nice.
Hear me on my authority.
Alright. Freeze effects last longer. That's what I would go for at this moment.
Since you're a Demeter heavy build already, yeah.
Yeah. But I might go for that because of
my
the extra
takeaway
cast damage.
right now is if you want to beat this game, go Demeter.
I guess I went for the cast damage, which is also a good pick. It's funny when you like go back and you look at one of your runs and you make a different decision than you thought you would. Alright, so we're going to get a Palm of Power here. The little environmental thing right there is actually a really good thing to use for fights like this. I just kind of... I had my sprint kind of wasted, unfortunately, but usually you want to use those to help deal with the enemies here. Alright, Palm of Power.
So what do you usually go for Palms of Power?
What do I usually go? Usually I try to upgrade boons that have higher rarity, because I believe that there's a bigger jump in the levels of higher rarity boons than there is of common ones.
Yeah, I think I noticed that too.
But yeah, generally you just want to
recommend just waiting until you find a good boon to power up with the palms.
Yeah, and also I would say that it's always better to get a new boon. It's usually better to get a new boon as opposed to powering up another one, just because the difference in power is much more substantial in getting a new boon versus, you know, getting one level on another one. It's usually a pretty small jump. Oh no 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 no! Well, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure enemies there. These zombie guys are much more trouble than you might think. Once you get a whole bunch of them, they're all throwing like 3 of those landmines at a time. It gets really annoying.
Your first
Alright,
Hermes
so we got
boon.
Hermes. Hermes, I feel like is he's different than the other gods. You get him less often in a run, and he doesn't have his own keepsake that allows him to show up more. But yeah, we're gonna go for Nitro Boost for faster sprint and protection while sprinting.
That gels nicely with your cyclones.
Yeah, and also anytime you're able to put more distance between you and an enemy, especially, you know, if I'm able to also freeze them, it's pretty good, pretty good pickup. All right, another Daedalus Hammer. Who have your favorite gods been so far that you've played?
Let's try and think. So far,
Grow golden once again.
I haven't seen too much of Hermes yet, so I can't pick him, obviously. Demeter has been really nice. Hestia, I was kind of liking some of the builds that she kind of can give you. I also was starting to. Last night I tried the one that turns your cast into a fireball.
I think that might be
It's a very interesting way to play. Because it's no longer creating an area around yourself. It's just targeting distance areas. And the longer you hold it, the more damage it'll deal. But you don't have anything to protect yourself where you are.
Yeah.
Now my reward.
All right.
But I
another
could definitely see
hammer.
the appeal of focusing on a frozen build.
Yeah, and like I don't even think you need to focus on Demeter boons. I wasn't expecting to get this many Demeter boons. Usually I just like getting freeze and a couple of other, like her rare crop boon is really good. Plentiful Forge is really good. But usually I just pick up Demeter for the freeze on either the basic or special attack. And oh man, I got the one that makes your cast fire twice, or your special fire twice. So now we got the Hera curse I told you about, Hitch, plus my special attack firing a lot faster, which is going to be real good for this.
Oh yeah.
So like I said, every time I inflict Hitch, which is that green status effect, every other enemy that gets hit by Hitch as well will share damage. And we're powering up my Hex here. Did you get to... Have you played around with Hexes all that much?
No, it just started for me.
I don't like them that much. I don't find myself using
I still need to
Hexes
make
all
sense
that
of them,
often.
I think.
They're fine to have, but I don't know. They are not nearly as like strong as you would expect a super move style move to be. There's like one that has a really big energy beam, but you have to stay entirely still for it, so it's actually kind of a risk.
Yeah, the only one that I was really chilling with was the invulnerability one.
Yeah, but even that, like, you don't get your usual powers when you're in that mode. You have like
It gives you brand new powers, yeah.
Yeah, it gives you brand new powers, and sometimes they're not as good as what your normal build would be.
It's for me. It was more of the oh shoot, I might die. Let's activate this.
Yeah,
and not
no, that's
die.
good. That aspect of it is good for sure.
Yeah. So if you could choose a boon from each god, what are your top picks? I know you're like you said your Demeter ones.
Yeah, I would say Demeter for getting freeze on one of the attacks. I would say for the mana restoration, I would get Poseidon's thing where you get the every time you hit enemies, they drop bubbles, and the bubbles are what restore your life. Those are really good. What are we getting here? Nothing super great. Fixed gain is also really good as mana regeneration. I might pick that up because I don't like having to stand still to regain magic, and that's what I'm gonna go with. So with that, I get 10%.
That's good in certain places.
Yeah, that I get 10% straight damage reduction, but then every time I take a hit, I gain mana back.
Around in miasma, have you?
Hey, Cerberus.
Cerberus, yeah. Sorry, spoilers. It's funny because they toyed with the idea of Cerberus being a boss in the first game, but then you just kind of, make nice to it.
He's no longer a good boy.
Yeah. Now it's not a very good boy. And
So
then
what's
yeah,
your strategy for this guy?
So for this guy, the area of effect on his slams are much more than you might think it would be. Usually I like to dash through him, but then also do a little sprint to get a little further to get out of the range of his slam. But typically, yeah, it's the same kind of strategy as some of the other mini bosses where you get in front of him, when you see him wind up, you dodge through him. For this, you want to get far away from those fireballs because they have a very large explosion radius.
Ooh, those are big.
Yeah. It's really just a matter of understanding the range of his attacks here. They're all pretty easy to avoid, but they can clip you while you're at the tail end of your dodge.
Hmm.
And then, yeah, he's got a bunch of these little area of denial attacks that you just want to get out of the way of. And then when he goes under, he's going to get a whole bunch of enemies to spawn. This is why having Hitch is really important. This is why having Hitch is really useful, because I can just cause Hitch on all these enemies, and then just take them all out at once. The downside to that mana restoration boon that I just picked up is that you don't get on-demand mana restoration. You have to get hit in order to get mana back. But once you do get hit, you get a lot of it back.
And it's also good if you already, like, right now for you, you still have a good amount of armor and HP, so you can afford taking hits.
Yeah, for sure. It's really good. That's why it's, I think it's a Hephaestus boon, because Hephaestus focuses a lot on defense. So the idea is that you would have a lot of defense, you would have a lot of damage reduction, you would have a lot of armor, so that you can take those hits and, you can deal with the mana regeneration.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I can't stress enough that Arcana card that does extra damage when you have 2 curses on. It's just free damage, and you should absolutely go for it.
So what's your Arcana card looking like? Your setup.
Let's see. I've got the one that I think slows down time for Omega attacks. I've got obviously Death Defiance. I've got 3 Death Defiances.
Always good to have.
Yeah, later on you're able to upgrade your Arcana cards, and obviously highly recommend upgrading the number of Death Defiances you have, because otherwise you only get 1. And this is a game where you are expected to die, like, in the middle of a run.
Especially if you're running for the final boss.
Yeah. But fortunately, this is a pretty good run, because I also not only have all 3 Death Defiances going into the final area, but I also have a good amount of armor.
He's good boy again.
Yay! Beast soothed. You just beat the evil out of him.
To your master.
Alright, going down into the final biome of the game. And let's see, get some fountain. Are we going to swap out? Yep, we're going to swap to Knucklebones or Luckier Tooth. So those are the 2 I recommend for the final encounter. Knucklebones will cause you to deal extra damage and take less damage from the final boss.
Ooh, that's good.
But you can also go with the keepsake from, I forgot his new name, Skelly, who basically just gives you another Death Defiance. So I would have 4 Death Defiances if I went with that.
Probably also really great if you've already lost Death Defiance already. Get one back.
Yeah, that's kind of what I would do. If I go in having 3 Death Defiances, I'm going to go with Knucklebones. If I lost one along the way, then I'm probably going to go with the other one. The Luckiest Tooth, I think it's called. So you may notice we're in Tartarus. If you played Hades
I remember
1,
this place.
yeah, this should be a familiar setting. Chronos has done some different things with it, but you got some similar enemies. You got some familiar enemies from the first game, and you got some new ones too. Which, oh man, the enemies in this area are so annoying.
They're just shooting lasers at you from everywhere.
Yep. So I did pick up Plentiful Forage. I don't remember at what point I did, but yeah.
I remember that,
Yeah. So whenever I pick up those flowers, it gives me max life. Which, as you can see, I have 180. It's done pretty good work.
Oh yeah.
This music also is kind of a new take on the main theme from Tartarus and Hades 1.
Yeah, I like it.
It reminds me of Doom. It reminds me of the Doom soundtrack, which is not a bad thing to remind me of.
Yeah.
Those hourglasses are really annoying. If you get caught in their self-destruct bubble, you basically get frozen in time, and it's a real bad place to be. Hey, I know that guy.
Spoilers. It's that guy.
Right. Very temporary portrait of him. So I usually go for Old Grudge here, just straight up damage reduction on the final boss.
Good idea. Are there any other must-haves you think you should have going into this fight?
You should definitely have. You should definitely have all 5 of your boons if you don't have them. Your
Right.
core boons. I don't know. I don't think there's any absolute must-haves, because one of the good things about Hades is that you can kind of make any build work.
Sure. That's very
You
true.
want to have your damage. You want to be able to do a lot of damage by this point. So you should have something that you can rely on for heavy damage. In this case, I think I have my heroic cast, which does really good. I have my Arcana boost that gives me extra damage on enemies with 2 curses. But I would say, honestly, this is probably a lower damage kind of build that I have going into this final level. I've definitely been able to do more damage by this point.
Yeah, especially with the Poseidon when you have that reduces your own damage in exchange for the mana.
Mm-hmm.
I think despite that, you're still doing a pretty decent amount of damage over time.
Yeah.
Opus.
But yeah, I think the Omega cast that I have is doing a lot of good work here, and just all the damage over time effects that I'm able to stack kind of in one area with the sprint and the Omega cast and my regular attacks. But you want to have something that you can rely on for heavy damage, I guess, is what I would
Right.
say.
Gold coins.
Oh, that's definitely a Doom beat right there. I heard it.
Let's go, you sack of filth.
Oh, I hate this guy. So, yeah, he fires this beam that's very hard to avoid, while you also have to deal with this other beam that's just going around. When he starts pooping coins, just make sure you get away from him, because those things hurt a lot.
Would have fooled me. I love coins. But there's 2 extra lasers and his laser.
Yeah, there's 3, actually. Or maybe 4. There's 4. There's one on each corner of the
Oh,
room.
yes.
I wish... oh, that was an embarrassing miss on the Mega attack. I wish I was able to do more damage with my special. Like, that would have been a great thing to have built into. Especially because I have the thing that gives me 2 shots for every one that I do. I've had some really broken builds where I've been able to focus on that. It basically just turns into like a twin stick shooter. Like, that's pretty solid, but just imagine those numbers going up even faster when I'm using the special spam.
Nice job.
Alright. And we got another Demeter boon. I'm running out of Demeter boons, I feel like. Definitely don't want to get Rare Crop this late in the game. Rare Crop is great early on, but yeah, there's not going to be 9 encounters left for me to increase them all up to heroic level rarity.
Yeah, it's good to kind of figure out how much they have left to go and if that's even worth it at that point.
Yeah.
There goes Arachne's suit.
Oh no, I lost your armor.
Finally
That
lost
served you
my
well,
armor.
bro.
Yeah, it's not too shabby to hold on to the armor for this long.
Yeah.
What I should be doing here is using more of my special to inflict hitch on all these guys.
Yeah, because they're really spread out in this one arena.
Yeah. Not my proudest encounter here. Took a lot of damage there.
A gift.
Alright. So this Palm of Power will give me 3 levels, so might as well just increase the damage of my regular attack.
Good idea.
And then we got 2 more rooms to go. The way this this whole 4th area is structured, basically, it's similar to how it worked in Hades 1, where you can basically choose to speed run to the end if you want. You still have to go through at least 5 battles, but if that's all you want to do, and if you already feel strong and confident in your build, you can just go straight for the end. But if you feel like there's still holes in your build that you want to try to fill, there are...
That's your last chance.
Yeah, I feel like there's still 5 more separate doors that you can go into that will have, you know, Palms of Power. They'll have a new boon that you can pick up. They might have coins that you can spend at the final shot before the boss. So there's still ways to complete your build, so to speak, before you get into the final boss.
Yeah, always keep in mind that there's the opportunity to course correct if you feel like your build's not where you want it to be before that final battle.
Yeah. But if you do choose to speedrun it, like, you don't, this is not like one of the other levels where every room you go in will have a reward at the end. It's only certain rooms. But we're gonna get some extra gold because the last Charon shop is usually pretty stacked with stuff to get. So you want to try to have, I would say, aim to have at least like 800 to 1,000 gold going into the final shop.
Okay.
Especially because you can also usually get a full heal. Not usually, but there's a chance that Karen will offer a full course meal that will...
A worthwhile chance.
Yeah, that will give you all your health back. And here you can see I'm finally using my hitch to deal damage to all these guys all at once.
Nice.
If you... One of the really powerful builds that you can go with in this game is a Hera build, where you increase the amount of damage you do with hitch. Every time you kill an enemy with hitch, you deal damage to all other enemies with hitch. It basically makes you unstoppable when it comes to like large groups of enemies.
You just tag them all and they all just melt.
Pretty much, yeah. Not great choices there, so I'm just going to go with the epic one. And this is where I would hesitate to recommend going for these kinds of rooms, because if you get hit by one of these hourglasses time-stopping effects, you are a sitting duck when it comes to like the god's abilities. So it can be very scary.
And this late in the game, that's all it takes for a
yeah, I've had runs ruined in these rooms. Just like that.
Yeah, good thing they were almost all cleared out by that time.
Yeah, but you can see like if they're not, that's a death sentence.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I love the music here. Uh-oh, that's a lot of damage!
Ooh. Frozen again.
I feel like this game has a really special way of making you feel unstoppable, and then all of a sudden bring you back down to earth. Like,
well,
oh, actually...
This game is the encapsulation of the I'm the greatest. Oh no.
Oh no! You just tried to kill me! Look at us bickering like an old married couple. That's really good. The infusion boon right here. All of your common boons gain rarity, so you basically bring up all of your common boons, which I have a lot of. So
all those boons got rarefied.
Again, infusion boons, if you have the elements to go to like activate them, very, very good to pick up. And hey, look at that. I got a full course meal. So yeah, I got 90 armor, 90 armor, 193 health. That will increase damage for every earth boon I have. I had 9, so that's going to be a lot of extra damage. And then special attacks deal more damage when not empowered by boons. I don't think that's going to help me, unfortunately. None of these are really going to help me that much. I guess that's the only one that really has any kind of assistance. And here we go. Final boss time.
You're going in really strong. A lot of health, a lot of mana, a lot of armor.
I've gone in stronger and done worse. Chronos is no joke. This guy sucks. You can ask my wife. And she would, if you ask my wife what I thought of Hades 2, she would be convinced that I hate it, because she's heard me in my room fighting Chronos over and over again.
I don't know what that Chronos guy did to you, but you were really mad at him.
And she's heard me say things that she's probably never heard me say before.
Did she watch you go around the house punching every single clock?
But yeah, first thing you're gonna want to do is try to get rid of her minions, because they can summon a bunch of rats that deal a lot of damage and are hard to deal with. So I would say just get rid of these guys as quick as you can.
Okay, take out the ads.
Take out the ads. He will summon more, but yeah, he will summon more, but you know, eventually, it's not going to be something that he instantly does. Again, you want to dodge through him. So when the fight starts, he won't do a lot of combos. He'll kind of do one big hit and then relax. But once you get him down to about half life, he'll start doing like 3-4 hit combos, and you're gonna have to make sure that you avoid all of them before you try to attack him. Fortunately, I'm actually getting lucky here that he's only doing his throw.
Yeah.
And then right here, you want to get around him. This is a good opportunity to hit him a whole bunch. But if you're in front of him, he's gonna nail you with that beam. And then all of his attacks have a delayed kind of explosion to them. So you want to make sure that you're not standing on any of those rifts when he puts them there. Like
you do have that 1 second to get away.
Yeah, his scythe will hit you, and then once the rift explodes, that will hit you too. And you see here's where he starts doing his combos. You want to make sure you're away from him. If you have Soot Sprint, one of the reasons, again, why Soot Sprint is so good, you can just suck up all those projectiles, or you can just erase them all from the ground. Yeah. Otherwise, you just kind of have to respect them and just get away from him.
Right.
I should also say, I haven't really used it throughout this run, but my Hex will restore life if I use it. So that's another thing I can kind of fall back on.
You're doing really well. Armor's down, but your health is still high.
And then once he puts these down, you're going to want to make sure you kill them quickly, because otherwise they give him basically a hit of resistance.
That's not good.
Go, just dodge, dodge, dodge.
He's almost done.
And hey, you did it! You beat Chronos, the Titan of Time.
Nice.
Oh, or at least you thought you did.
Oh,
Guess what?
Man.
You have a whole other life bar to go with. When he does this, it is imperative that you get on the glowing circle, because otherwise he will do 9,999 damage to you and just kill you instantly.
Nice.
Yep. Ask me how I felt when I had him one hit away from dying and he hit me with that move, Brendan. Ask me how I felt.
It felt like you wish you could have defied death a little bit.
All right, get on
So
the
he's got
spot.
a lot of new moves in this phase.
Yeah, his core set of moves is pretty much the same, but you have to watch for those clock hands. You gotta dodge through them when the circle kind of encroaches around the middle. You want to dodge through the edge of the circle. For there, you want to step inside the glowing parts. Like right here, you want to dodge through the edge of the circle. And then he's going to start summoning all these hourglasses on all the different circles.
Oh, no.
And that sucks. You don't want to get overwhelmed, because what they'll do is they'll put you in one of those bubbles, and then he'll do his ultra attack, and you'll get stuck not being able to go to the safe zone. So you don't want to let these hourglasses just exist. You want to make sure you kill them.
Another great use of Hitch.
Yeah.
Tag them all and then destroy them.
See, like right there, that was a scary moment. I would have died if that was any further away.
I think he tossed you one there. He just gave you one. He's like, all right. You're doing good.
Yep.
Health is slow, but you got those Death Defiances. That's really useful.
Run! Yeah, I still have, at this point, I'm pretty confident. You don't want to get too confident, because Death Defiances don't give you that much health back.
Yeah.
But I have 3 Death Defiances, and he's starting to look a little low on health, so I feel pretty good at this point. Just keep on running. That's the most important thing about this fight. You just gotta make sure that you're always in a position to be able to run to a safe zone.
Your first justified.
Man, I wish I had sit sprint. But that's gonna do it.
Nicely done.
Thank you, thank you. But of course, just killing the boss, final boss, once or twice or 3 times in Hades 2 is not the full game.
Yeah.
You're
so
gonna
much
have to
more
do
to do.
this. There's so much more to do. But for now, we're gonna pick up our. Well, first of all, we can look at our loadout here, our winning loadout. You can pin boons to this. I don't know exactly what that does. It might
I
just make
wonder
so
if
that
it tells you the next time you select, like, hey, this is the one you pinned.
maybe. But yeah, you can get the sands, and then once you try to enter Zag's room, that is where the early access period ends. But yeah, that is a full run through of Hades 2. Brendan, thank you so much for joining me on that.
I was happy to be here, and I learned a lot about what I had to face when I play the boss.
All right, well, for everything else, Hades 2, make sure to keep it here on IGN. All right, well, for everything else, Hades 2, make sure to keep it here on IGN.